One of the worst things that can happen is having a friend tell you that you need to read a particular comic or manga because it's super amazing and groundbreaking. And when you read it, you freaking hate it. And maybe hate is a strong word, but it didn't live up to your expectations.
I think you are a disappointment.
Or did it? This is what happened to me with Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Uzumaki is a Japanese horror manga series written and illustrated by Junji Ito. The series tells a story of the citizens of a fictional city which is plagued by a supernatural curse involving spirals. The story for Uzumaki originated when Ito attempted to write a story about people living in a very long terraced house, and he was inspired to use a spiral shape to achieve the desired length. Now, I have a lot of amazing things to say about this story, and in fact, by the end of the video, you'll hear the following from me. What made the first couple of chapters masterpieces, in my opinion, what made the middle portion of the story a living hell to read, and why the ending just didn't work for me. Or did it? And keep in mind, the original Uzumaki story was told in 3 different volumes. I have the nice deluxe edition that Viz put out, so naturally I felt inclined to read the entire thing, even though there were portions of it that, like I said, felt like hell to read. And while I give you guys my thoughts on Uzumaki, I'm also going to be drawing a panel from my own manga series, The Girl with the Mega Fists. Here we go. Drone talk! Okay, so let's get talking about Uzumaki. Now, when I first heard about Uzumaki, it was from someone on Twitter recommending manga, specifically horror manga. Because I was new to manga, I was wanting to try out all sorts of books. I was told the premise of Uzumaki and I was immediately hooked. A city that comes across the supernatural and the citizens start to obsess over spirals? Sign me up. And the first couple chapters blew me away. Like, holy crap. One of the main character's fathers gets so obsessed with the spiral that he eventually is able to turn his tongue into a spiral and then later turns his entire body into a spiral. And it's at this point in the manga where I have absolutely zero clue on what's going on, but I just want more. I just want more. Because of how terrible and traumatic this experience was for this man's wife, she is now in fear of the spiral, to the point where she notices spirals on everything, even her freaking fingertips, which she removes. Towards the end of her story, she realizes that there was a diagram at the hospital that was removed so that she wouldn't have a major freak out. Unfortunately, her realizing that the doctors are hiding information from her causes this freak out to happen, and she goes into medical books looking for the exact diagram that the doctors were hiding from her. When she finds it, she realizes that there is a spiral in her ear, and well, she grabs a sharp object and you get the point. And it's at this point where I'm like, what is happening? And I wanted to know what the purpose of these spirals were and what their plan was. And those were my expectations of where I thought the story was going to be going. And it didn't. Which brings me to the dreaded middle part of Uzumaki. The middle part of Uzumaki did not answer any of the questions that I wanted. Why? Because all it consisted of was a bunch of disconnected stories that showed how the spirals were affecting the people, and there were just a bunch of horrific events happening every single chapter, and none of the events really drove the story forward. It was kind of like a gore fest. And that was my biggest problem with Uzumaki, was that this massive middle portion of the story didn't push the story forward. In fact, you could probably take this section out and the story would be fine. Greg Hackman of Mania gave part 1 an A, praising both its well-honed art and Ito's ability to form an effective overarching plot out of Uzumaki's loosely connected sub-stories. Hackman, however, gave Volume 2 a B, explaining that unfortunately this shift in story format is largely a failed experiment, with the overarching escape storyline put on hiatus. A good number of these disconnected episodes degenerate into simple, look at weird stuff happening horror fests that lack much of the creative spark exhibited throughout the first Uzumaki collection. That was a lot of words, but I feel the same way. So the question is then, if the beginning was great and the middle sucked, how did it end? Drum roll, please. I found the ending to be really abrupt. Like, it just happened. And when I say abrupt, I'm mostly talking about the last 5 pages. The main characters attempt to escape the town that is being plagued by the spirals. However, when their escape fails, they come back and their town's layout has become a spiral, and they eventually venture into essentially the depths of Earth, where they find in Earth's core a city of spirals, and realizing that it's just the end for both of them, they hold each other one last time and become part of the spiral and connect with each other, which then breaks the spiral's curse, and then bam, the entire story is over. And I'm asking myself, what the freak just happened? And then yeah, it's over. Like that's how the story ends. And there's a part of me that thinks that if I were to reread this book and take out like this entire middle section, I'd probably enjoy it more, to be honest. In fact, I think the next time that I read this, I'm just going to read the portions that were considered volume 1 and volume 3. So the question is, should you read it? I think you should. I mean, if anything, even if you only read volume 1, it's just a freaking masterpiece. Like, it is such good storytelling. I remember reading the first 5 chapters and being like, I can't go to sleep tonight. It was so good. It was so terrifying. The art is spectacular. Go treat yourself to reading Uzumaki, Volume 1. So those are my final thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here's the panel that I did from the girl with the mega fist. And I hope that you guys are enjoying me talking about books that I've read, books that I like, stories that I think that you should read. Let me know in the comments, should I do more of these? I'm planning on doing more of these, but I just want to know, do you guys want more of these? And if you're interested in reading The Girl with the Mega Fist, you can sub to my Patreon, patreon.com/drawandtalk. You guys have a great freaking day. Peace.